The world is fast-paced and sometimes you miss the action. What perspectives do you have? What is the truth? Is the world at war? Join me, Sarah Mwangi, as we make sense of the information overload. President Zelensky of Ukraine is in trouble, or is actually messed up, I'm sure, mentally, physically, and all emotionally and all other means. You may wonder why I'm saying this. It's because the Ramstein meeting that was supposed to happen between yesterday, today, and tomorrow is not happening. And this is because the president of US, Joe Biden, canceled the meeting to deal with the hurricane that was going on in his country, in Florida state. So I'm sure Zelensky is in trouble, wondering where to get more money. Is it time for him to surrender? Is it time for him just to sit down and tell Putin, okay, it's a wrap. It's been real, 3 years of fight. Okay, we give up. Okay, take up the land. Okay, I'm not saying that he will surrender. I'm just looking at the scenarios. Anyway, so the high-level meeting on the Ramstein group of Ukraine donors was cancelled after President Biden said he has to deal with issues of Hurricane Milton that was to happen. And this actually happened because a few months ago, another hurricane killed about 200 people. And the reaction that came with that did not sit well with him. So I think this time it was inevitable. He had to be there for his country. So Germany had expected some 20 leaders to travel to Ramstein, where Zelensky was set to present his, he called it the victory plan, which he described as clear, specific steps for a just end of the war with Russia. So the approach for him for this meeting was going so that maybe he could either get more funding, more arms, and maybe, bring the war to an end by, according to him, finishing Russia. However, according to Russia, the only solution to all this is war. And the solution is that they expect that Ukraine will at some point or even surrender as soon as yesterday. So some officials from the US have characterized the plan as a repackaged request for more weapons and lifting of restrictions on the long-range missiles, which Zelensky had hoped maybe to present in this meeting, and they would be given a go-ahead to use that. So the use of long-range missiles may not actually be a solution, or even nuclear may not be a solution, because that means that besides the number of people that have died so far, that more people will die. But to whose benefit? For Russia, it adds no value. For Ukraine, if they killed, let's say, more Russians, what value does it add to kill more people and yet not get a solution? So I don't think Russia wants this direction. And logically speaking, Russia has higher chances of winning this war. And why I'm saying this, one, because they have a bigger chunk of land. Of course, they're the biggest country in the world, so meaning they have a bigger land space. And with that land space comes a bigger population compared to Ukraine. So even the number of soldiers they are putting in this war is bigger than what Ukraine is working with. And we may not get the numbers right, but I'm sure Ukraine has lost more soldiers than what Russia has done. And what Russia could, if Ukraine surrenders and Russia maybe maintains the extra 20% of land that they're fighting for, and that is already under their control essentially, the bigger benefit will be to Russia. If Ukraine stops the war, they actually don't get much benefits besides saying they still own that land. But if Russia gets that 20%, it means they can set base in this area, they can set army bases in this extra 20%, meaning they're able to have a bigger space where before any attacks happen, they have more safe space for themselves. Two, the benefits for Russia is actually oil and gas. That is resources. And with these resources, of course, they expect that their European market is opened for the economy, because if they're able to export these things, it means they make more money. This will be a value to them. But if, for instance, for Ukraine, they don't sell, there's nothing much they're getting because already their population is smaller. And the resources for them, nothing much, because they are controlled by higher powers. So that will be the problem. So after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, what happened is that Washington brought together 50 nations that they called like-minded, whose defense ministers meet oftentimes to deliberate about Kyiv's arms request with pledges of donors at the US airbase in Ramstein. So this meeting was supposed to be an addition to, it was actually to be the biggest meeting, high-level meeting to happen with regard to supporting Ukraine with resources. The Ramstein group, also known as the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, was to meet while Biden was visiting Germany. He was supposed to be in Germany between 10th and 13th of October. And this would have also been his first, actually the first US state visit in nearly 40 years, which is quite a long time. The meeting would have been the highest level, as I said, and it was basically to come and underscore the unwavering support for Ukraine. But now that it's not happening, I'm sure Zelensky is in much, much trouble. And we've seen him visiting the Pope. Maybe he went for prayers. We've seen him speak to Macron just the other day. I don't know if Macron is willing to put in more money or resources by himself. And he's he's actually on a European tour, and the hope is that he gets more help. That one, we can only wait and see what happens, as they're speaking of postponing the meeting towards maybe November. But then the biggest trouble for this postponement is that the United States is heading for elections in November. So with an upcoming election, I don't think the US wants to bother and put more resources in a country while they have a bigger problem or concern, which is the election. And on top of this, there are two main candidates, which is Kamala, of course, and Donald Trump. If this election goes the Trump way, in my opinion, that's it for Ukraine, because he was clear he will just end the war, and meaning Ukraine will not get more resources from the US or even NATO. If Kamala wins, maybe they will go on. We can't as yet ascertain, but maybe they will continue getting more funding, but who knows? So that's one of the things I'm sure that's a big trouble to the administration today. Remember about a month ago when the Hurricane Helen, which killed actually more than 200 people. Now, because of the number of people who died, Trump has taken advantage and is using this as a key campaign tool for him, attacking the administrations of Biden and Kamala, because how did you not be on the ground to see that you can rescue more than 200 citizens? Imagine 200 citizens dying because you didn't put resources to rescue them. But on the other hand, you're busy putting resources and arranging for meetings to go fight a war with Russia, which is actually supposed to be Ukraine and Russia war. But of course, it's the US fighting on the background. So you want to go fight a war with an enemy that is actually not your enemy, it's a perceived enemy, and 200 people are dying. That thing has given President Trump a lot of mileage, and even Republicans, they are using that as a way of saying this administration is actually aloof with the citizens. They don't care, they're not concerned, and all they care about is just campaigning and not focusing on the problems that their citizens are facing. Zelensky is traveling to Europe, raising more money, including in Germany, because Germany actually happens to be the second biggest funder after the United States. And they're hoping that, these countries will put money or resources or more weapons or allow them to use long-range weapons. But if you're to go that direction, do you think actually Ukraine has more weapons than Russia? And if Russia went that direction, in my opinion, and I believe so, I don't think we'll have a country called Ukraine in maybe a few days. So I don't think the United States wants to engage that way. Number two, war is very expensive. And for them, it's just a thing of giving resources. You're just giving and not getting. Countries like the US don't engage in war for free. There's always an interest. For Ukraine as it is, they're not getting any benefits. So I highly doubt they would want to go that direction, because if you go to that direction, then you'll have so many innocent citizens who will be killed because of selfish interest. And it's interest that really don't add value. You see, for Russia, the fight is to get resources and to have a big chunk of the European market. But for US, it's just, to have this country under them, essentially, because if you join NATO, it means you have that higher protection by the countries that hold the superpower. So for them, I don't think there's any other thing they're fighting for. So Zelensky must be troubled by this, because when he thinks about the coming elections, he clearly sees this trouble, and that's why he's really pushing to have this meeting happen. Because if it doesn't happen before the election, I bet that may be the end of funding, which she's been getting. That may be the end of weapons. And unfortunately, Putin will have his way, which they've resisted since 2022. So I don't know what he plans to do with that. Number two, there's so many factors to consider before the 5th November elections, because does the US have the resources, or they may have the resources, but do they want to invest them in a war where they're not really, after 3 years, if you can't see the benefits, do you still think they want to go that way? Number three, there is the fear of having Trump as a president. Trump, in his previous administration, was quite cordial with President Putin. So if this election ends up his way, then maybe they become more cordial. Then what happens to Ukraine again? You know, so having two alpha male in power and they're friends with each other, or perceived friends, then there's Zelensky there with his green camel t-shirt and his means of just borrowing and, you know, requesting, oh, we want money.
If you can't give us some financial support, okay, please, give us a credit and we will give you back money.
Maybe as a man, look at the pros and cons and make a decision without the influence of external powers. That's just my opinion. And everyone is entitled to their opinion, you know. So Ukraine was actually also to get a loan from this meeting, and this loan was to be serviced by the interests that are gained from the frozen assets of Russia that are in European nations. And with a change in administration in the US, I highly doubt this sanctions will continue. It's a gamble. They're not sure that the sanctions will go on, because it's a 50-50. And even if they were to go on, for how long can you sanction Russia? You know, it's been 3 years and the country still stands strong, and their oil, they've still been exporting. Like, they've not really, you know, gone down as would have been expected for any other nation. So I don't know if this G7 nations, NATO, will want to put with a new administration. Maybe if Trump comes, he won't be for that direction of having sanctions for his friend Putin. So it's a 50-50. So let's just wait and see. But in my wild guess, I think it's about time that Ukraine surrenders, because the cards or odds seem to be going against Zelensky. Then how long can you extend sanctions? And even if this war went on for, say, another 10 years, the people who would actually prosper most is Russia. I told you, the land size and the population means a plus, because no country wants to offer their soldiers to go and die. I don't think the US will give soldiers, or Germany or France will send their soldiers to go and be killed by Russia in Ukraine. It doesn't add value to them. And that's why much of it is usually giving resources like, yo, go fight, let your people die. Us guys are not sending our soldiers to die. And that's what they've decided. So also, I don't know what you feel or think about, but it's good to share with us in the comment section. Do you think military way is the solution, or maybe they could try diplomacy? But then with diplomacy, who's negotiating? Because everyone here feels, you know, they're man enough. Anyway, let's wait and see. But I'm sure from this cancellation of the meeting at Ramstein, it's already a red flag for Zelensky, and unfortunately for the country that is Ukraine. Share with us what you think in the comment section. And also, do you think this meeting will actually happen before the elections? And if it does, do you think the US will put in money or resources towards helping Ukraine anymore? Number two, tell us what you think President Zelensky should do. I think he's begged enough. Gosh, it's been too much of give. Oh, we need this, we need that. Yeah, just tell us what you think. Should he continue begging, or is it about time he went and told President Putin, it's been real, you guy, let's talk like good men? I don't know. You tell us. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episodes.